Three 6-year-old girls stand in their destroyed bedroom, tears pouring down their faces. The floor is covered in torn pages from a Bible. A framed photograph lies shattered near the door. And sitting right in the middle of it, all calm, soaking wet, not saying a word, is a woman they just met an hour ago. She's not yelling, she's not packing her bags, she's not even shocked. She's crying with them. How did it come to this? Chicago is a city built on power. Old money flows through Lincoln Park. Lakefront mansions line Sheridan Road like soldiers guarding secrets. And high above the magnificent Mile, penthouse towers scrape the clouds, full of men who own everything. Jeff Jim was one of those men. Self-made billionaire, tech empire, private jets parked like cars. A 6-car garage that actually held 6 cars. The kind of wealth that makes people whisper your name at charity galas and board meetings. But inside his Lakeshore Drive mansion, Jeff had nothing. 7 months ago, his wife Catherine walked out. No fight, no warning. Just a suitcase, a folded note on the kitchen counter, and 4 sentences that destroyed everything. The triplets saw her leave. Luna, Evelyn, and Alice, 6 years old, identical faces, completely different wars raging inside them. They watched their mother close the front door. They didn't hear her promise to come back someday. They didn't hear her explain why she couldn't breathe anymore. They just heard the click of the lock, and something inside them broke. Since that March morning, the Jim mansion became a battlefield. Luna, the oldest by 6 minutes, turned into a tiny general, controlling, calculating, always 3 steps ahead. Evelyn became a firecracker, exploding at random, screaming until her voice gave out. And Alice? Alice disappeared. Into closets, into vents, into crawl spaces where no one could find her. 10 nannies tried to help. 10 professionals with perfect resumes and glowing references. Some quit crying. Some didn't make it past sunrise. One left her car running in the driveway and never came back inside. The triplets didn't throw tantrums. They engineered disasters. Flooded hallways, destroyed kitchens. Alarms triggered at 3 in the morning. They were brilliant, sharp, and so deeply wounded that chaos was the only language they knew how to speak. Jeff tried everything. Therapists from Northwestern, behavioral specialists from New York, child psychologists who charged more per hour than most people made in a week. No one lasted. No one helped. No one understood that discipline wasn't the problem. The problem was a door that closed 7 months ago and never opened again. Jeff was desperate, exhausted, running a billion-dollar company while his daughters burned down his life one day at a time. And then the 11th candidate showed up. Her name was Tina Ward, 34, housekeeper by trade, no childcare certifications, no fancy degrees, no references from senators or CEOs, just a quiet voice and 5 words that almost made Jeff shut the door in her face. God told me to come here. Chicago wasn't the kind of city where people said things like that, especially not to billionaires standing in marble foyers wearing $1,000 suits. But something in her tone stopped him. She didn't sound dramatic. She didn't sound mystical or preachy. She sounded certain. And Jeff Jim, man who built empires, who controlled boardrooms, who could fire 50 people with 1 email, was desperate enough to take a chance on certainty. He gave her 3 days. She didn't blink, didn't negotiate, didn't ask about salary. She just nodded and said, "That's all I need." Jeff had no idea what he'd just let into his home. The triplets moved fast. Tina barely set her bag down before Luna triggered the mansion's sprinkler system. Water exploded from the ceiling, flooding the entire West Wing hallway. Evelyn was in the kitchen, smearing ketchup along the white walls, screaming that the house was bleeding. And Alice? Gone. Vanished into the laundry chute, hiding where no adult could reach her. Jeff stood in the doorway, arms crossed, waiting. This was the part where they left. This was when nannies realized the job wasn't worth it. When they saw the girls weren't just misbehaving, they were testing, pushing, daring someone to stay. But Tina didn't run. She walked straight through the flooded hallway, water soaking into her shoes, dripping from her hair. She stopped at the wall where Evelyn had painted her anger in red streaks. She wiped a bit of ketchup off with her finger, looked at it, then looked at Evelyn, and she said 6 words no one had ever said before. Hurt hearts act like hurricanes. Evelyn froze. Luna stopped at the top of the stairs. Even Alice, hidden somewhere in the walls, went quiet. No yelling, no threats, no shock or judgment. Just truth, spoken soft and steady. Tina didn't try to fix it. She didn't lecture. She knelt down in the water, right there on the soaking floor, and started picking up a toy truck that had floated into the hallway. "You can break everything in this house," she said quietly, "but it won't bring her back." Luna's jaw tightened. Evelyn's lip trembled. Alice's breathing echoed faintly from somewhere inside the walls. Tina stood up, wringing water from her sleeves. "I'm not leaving. Not today." And she walked calmly toward the laundry room. Jeff watched her crouch near the chute and speak softly into the darkness. "Alice, I'm not going to pull you out, but I'll sit right here until you're ready." 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Jeff checked his watch. He had a conference call in 10 minutes. Investors waiting. Emails piling up. But he couldn't move, because at minute 23, a small hand reached out of the chute. Tina took it gently. Didn't pull, just held it, and Alice crawled out on her own. That night, Jeff sat in his office reviewing security footage. He rewound the same clip 3 times. Tina, sitting on the floor with Alice, braiding a torn shoelace back together, humming something low and steady, not a lullaby, just a rhythm, and Alice, who hadn't let anyone touch her in 7 months, leaning into Tina's shoulder. Jeff felt something he hadn't felt since March. Hope. But hope was dangerous. Hope meant attachment, and attachment meant loss. He couldn't let his daughters fall for someone who might leave. Late that night, he found Tina in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug of tea, staring out at the city lights. "Why are you really here?" he asked. She didn't turn around. "I told you. God, don't." Jeff's voice was sharper than he meant it to be. "Don't give me that. People don't just show up because of faith. What do you want? Money? A reference? What's the angle?" Tina finally looked at him. Her eyes were tired, but calm. "I lost my mother when I was 7, she said. "She left me at a gas station, said she was getting coffee, never came back." Jeff's breath caught. "I know what it feels like to be abandoned," Tina continued, "and I know what it does to a child. So when I felt called to come here, I didn't ask why. I just came." She set down her mug and walked past him toward her room. "You don't have to trust me, Mr. Jim, but your daughters will." Jeff stood alone in the kitchen, staring at the empty mug, and for the first time in 7 months, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, someone could actually reach them. Week 1 changed nothing. Week 2 changed everything. Tina didn't fight the chaos. She sat in it. When Evelyn threw her breakfast plate across the kitchen, Tina didn't gasp or scold. She just cleaned it up, made another plate, and set it down gently. "You can throw 100 plates, she said, "but you'll still be hungry." Evelyn stared at her, fists clenched, waiting for the anger that never came. When Luna barked orders at her sisters like a drill sergeant, "Alice, stop crying. Evelyn, clean that up now." Tina didn't tell her to stop bossing people around. Instead, she sat beside her and asked, "Does it feel safer when you're in control?" Luna's mouth opened, then closed. No one had ever asked her that before. "Because you couldn't control her leaving," Tina continued softly. "So now you try to control everything else." Luna's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. And Alice, quiet, invisible Alice, kept disappearing into closets and corners. But Tina never dragged her out. She'd find her hiding spot, slide down beside her in the dark, and wait. No words, no pressure, just presence. One afternoon, Alice whispered from inside a hallway closet, "Why don't you leave?" Tina leaned her head against the door. "Because I'm still here. But everyone leaves." "Not today," Tina said. "Today, I'm right here." 20 minutes later, Alice opened the door. She didn't come out, but she left it cracked. Progress. Jeff watched all of it from his office. Security cameras showed him what he couldn't see in person. Tina sitting on floors, folding laundry with Evelyn, letting Luna quiz her about every detail of her life. "Where did you grow up?" "Small town in Indiana." "Do you have kids?" "No." "Why not?" "Never found the right person to build a family with." Luna's next question came quieter. "When are you leaving?" Tina didn't lie, didn't make promises she couldn't keep. "I don't know the future, Luna, but I know right now. And right now, I'm here. That's all any of us really have." Luna looked away, but her shoulders dropped. Just a little. That night, something happened that hadn't happened in 7 months. Dinner was quiet. No screaming, no thrown food, no one running from the table. The girls ate. Tina passed the salt. Jeff sat at the head of the table, trying to remember the last time he'd eaten a meal with his daughters. March. The answer was March. After dinner, Evelyn did something that made Jeff's chest tighten. She took Tina's hand, just held it, didn't say anything, just stood there in the kitchen, fingers wrapped around Tina's, staring at the floor. Tina squeezed back. Later that week, Jeff's business partner called him. "How's the nanny situation? Better? Better enough to stop worrying?" Jeff hesitated. "Maybe. Good, because if this one doesn't work out, we're having a serious conversation about boarding school." Jeff hung up and stared at his phone. Boarding school, the nuclear option, the thing he swore he'd never do, but he couldn't keep living like this, and his daughters couldn't keep suffering. Tina was working. The girls were healing. But what if she left? What if this hope was just another setup for heartbreak? That night, at 2 a.m, Jeff walked downstairs for water. He found Tina sitting alone in the kitchen, clutching something in her hand. A ring, gold band, worn smooth. She was crying. Jeff froze in the doorway. She didn't see him. He backed away quietly and went upstairs. But the question followed him to bed. What pain was she carrying? And why did she come here to heal his family when she was clearly still broken herself? May hit Chicago like a storm nobody saw coming. The weather changed fast, cold wind one day, warm sun the next. But it wasn't the weather that mattered. It was the calendar. Mother's Day. The girls woke up silent, eyes empty, moving through the house like ghosts. Jeff found scraps of paper in the trash, crayon drawings, half-finished cards with Mum, written in shaky letters, then scribbled out so hard the paper tore. They'd tried, and given up. Because what was the point of making cards for someone who wasn't coming back? At 10 o'clock that morning, Jeff heard a crash upstairs. He ran. Tina's door was open. Her room looked like a war zone, clothes ripped and thrown everywhere. Her Bible torn apart, pages scattered across the floor like snow. The framed photo of her parents shattered, glass everywhere. And in the middle of it all stood Luna, Evelyn, and Alice, shaking, crying, weapons down, destroyed by their own rage. Luna's voice cracked. "If you stay, she won't come back." Evelyn screamed through tears. "Everybody leaves, everyone." Alice collapsed onto the floor, sobbing so hard she couldn't catch her breath. Jeff moved toward them, but Tina raised her hand, stopping him without a word. Then she did something no one expected. She sat down, right there on the torn pages of her Bible, glass crunching under her knees. She didn't yell, didn't cry out in anger, didn't pack her bags. She just started picking up the pages, one by one, gently, like they were pieces of something precious. Tears streamed down her face, but she wasn't angry. She was grieving with them. "This pain," she whispered. "I know it." Luna's breath hitched. "My mother left me at a gas station when I was 7, Tina said, voice shaking. "She told me she was getting coffee. I sat on the curb and waited. I waited for 6 hours. Evelyn's sobs grew quieter. A police officer found me. I kept telling him my mom was coming back. I kept saying she promised. But she didn't come back. She never came back." Tina looked up at the girls, tears falling freely now. "I spent years thinking it was my fault, that I wasn't good enough, that if I'd been better, she would have stayed." Alice crawled toward her. "But it wasn't about me," Tina continued. "And your mum leaving wasn't about you. Sometimes people leave because they're broken, not because you're not enough." Luna's walls crumbled. She dropped to her knees beside Tina, then Evelyn, then Alice. And for the first time since Catherine walked out that door in March, the girls cried, really cried in someone's arms. Not the angry, destructive kind of crying. The kind that releases. Jeff stood in the doorway, frozen. He'd hired therapists, specialists, experts with degrees and decades of experience. But none of them had done this. None of them had sat in the fire. Tina held all 3 girls, rocking them gently, letting them pour out 7 months of abandonment, confusion, and fear. "You don't have to carry this alone," she whispered. "Not anymore." They cried for 20 minutes. When it finally stopped, Luna looked up at Tina with red, swollen eyes. "Does it ever stop hurting?" Tina smiled sadly. "It gets quieter, but you have to let people help you carry it." "Will you help us?" Alice asked, voice barely audible. "Every single day," Tina promised. That afternoon, the 4 of them sat on the floor and picked up every torn page together. Tina didn't throw them away. She put them in a box. "Broken things can still matter," she said. That night, after the girls finally fell asleep, Jeff found Tina sitting on the back porch, staring at the lake. He sat beside her. Didn't say anything at first. Then, quietly, "You didn't have to tell them that." "Yes, I did," Tina said. "They needed to know they're not alone." Jeff looked at her, really looked at her. "You're not just a housekeeper, are you?" Tina smiled, exhausted. "No, I'm someone who knows what it's like to be left behind, and I refuse to let anyone feel that way if I can help it." Jeff felt something shift inside him. It wasn't just gratitude. It was something deeper, something terrifying. 3 months passed. Slowly, carefully, like watching ice melt in spring, Alice stopped hiding in vents. She still got quiet sometimes, still retreated into herself, but she came back faster now, and she started talking, actually talking at dinner. Evelyn's explosions became rare. When frustration built up, she'd find Tina and say, "I need to be loud for a minute." And Tina would take her outside, let her scream at the sky until it passed. Luna stopped trying to control everything. She laughed again, real laughter that filled rooms and made Jeff forget, just for a moment, how broken things had been. And Jeff? He stopped watching from his office. He came downstairs, joined family dinners, sat at the table instead of eating alone in front of his computer. He started doing school drop-offs, Sunday picnics at Grant Park, movie nights where everyone fought over what to watch and nobody really cared who won. He taught the girls to code, something he'd always been too busy for before. And late at night, after the girls went to bed, he'd find himself in the kitchen with Tina, talking, not about schedules or grocery lists, about life, about loss, about faith and fear and second chances. She told him about growing up in foster care after her mother disappeared, about the families who tried but couldn't keep her, about finding faith in a church basement when she was 16 and feeling like maybe she mattered after all. He told her about building his company from nothing, about Catherine's slow retreat into herself after the girls were born, about how he threw himself into work because he didn't know how to fix his wife's sadness. "I thought if I made enough money, built enough success, it would be enough," Jeff admitted one night. "But she looked at me like I was a stranger." "Maybe she needed you to see her," Tina said gently. "Not fix her, just see her." Jeff stared into his coffee. "I didn't know how." "You're learning now." He looked at her, then really looked at her. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking, the way she smiled when one of the girls said something funny, the way she hummed while washing dishes, filling the house with quiet music. He was falling in love with her, and it terrified him. She was the employee. It was too soon, too complicated. What if it ruined what they'd built? What if she said no and left, and the girls lost someone else they loved? But then one night, during a movie, Evelyn slipped her small hand into his. She leaned close and whispered, "Daddy, can Tina stay forever?" Jeff's heart cracked wide open. He looked across the couch where Tina sat with Luna and Alice curled up on either side of her. She met his eyes, and he knew. The girls weren't the only ones who needed her. He did too. But asking her to stay, asking her to be more than the woman who saved his family, felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. One step forward, and everything could fall apart. Or everything could finally come together. If this story has reminded you that broken people can still build beautiful things, that healing is possible, even when hope feels gone, maybe you're here for a reason too, not just to watch, but to remember. Don't let this be just another story you scroll past. Let it stay with you. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Jeff saw Catherine's name on his phone and felt his stomach drop. He hadn't heard from her in 8 months. 8 months of silence, while he rebuilt what she'd destroyed. He answered. "I want to see them," she said. No greeting, no apology, just demand. "Catherine, I'm their mother, Jeff. I have rights." His grip tightened on the phone. "You gave up those rights when you walked out. I was sick. I needed help. I'm better now." "Better?" His voice rose. "You left 3 6-year-olds without explanation. You didn't call, didn't text, didn't ask how they were doing. I'm calling now." Jeff closed his eyes. "I need to think about this. My lawyer says I don't need your permission for supervised visits." Lawyer. The word landed like a punch. She wasn't asking. She was threatening. He hung up and sat in his office for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. Then he went to find Tina. She was in the living room with the girls, helping them build a fort out of couch cushions and blankets. They were laughing. Safe. "Can I talk to you?" Jeff asked quietly. Tina saw his face and knew. She stood, told the girls she'd be right back, and followed him into the hallway. Catherine called. Tina's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. She wants to see them. She mentioned lawyers. What do you want to do? I want to protect them, Jeff said, voice tight. But legally, she's still their mother. Tina nodded slowly. Then we prepare them, together. That night, they sat the girls down. Luna's face went hard the second she heard her mother's name. No, she wants to visit. I said no. Luna stood up, fists clenched. She doesn't get to come back now. Evelyn threw a pillow across the room. I hate her. Alice just stared at the floor, silent tears streaming down her face. Tina knelt in front of them. You don't have to forgive her. You don't have to want this. But she's coming, and we're going to get through it together. Why? Luna's voice cracked. Why does she get to hurt us again? Because sometimes life isn't fair, Tina said gently. But you're not alone this time. The visit was scheduled for Saturday. Supervised, 1 hour, in the mansion's formal living room. The girls barely slept Friday night. When Catherine arrived, she looked different, thinner, hair shorter, nervous. She brought gifts. Wrapped boxes with perfect bows. The girls wouldn't touch them. She sat on the couch across from them, hands folded in her lap, trying to smile. You've gotten so big, she said. Silence. I've missed you so much. More silence. Catherine's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I left. I was sick in my head, in my heart. I couldn't be the mother you needed. Luna stared at her, cold. So you left us? I thought you'd be better without me. We weren't, Evelyn said flatly. We broke everything. We hurt people. Because you left. Catherine's face crumpled. I know, and I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it, Luna interrupted. Alice finally spoke, voice barely a whisper. Why didn't you take us with you? The room went still. Catherine opened her mouth, closed it. Tears ran down her face. She had no answer, because the truth was too ugly. She'd run from motherhood itself, from the weight of 3 lives depending on her, from the fear that she was failing them. She'd chosen escape over effort. And now, sitting in front of the daughters she abandoned, she had nothing to offer but excuses. Jeff stood near the doorway, fists clenched. Tina sat beside the girls, hand resting gently on Alice's back. Catherine looked at Tina, really looked at her, and something passed between them. Recognition. 2 women who both loved these children, one who ran, one who stayed. I can't undo what I did, Catherine said, voice shaking. But I want to try. I want to be in your lives again, if you'll let me. Luna stood up. I don't know if we can trust you. I understand. But? Luna glanced at Tina, who nodded encouragement. Maybe you can visit. Sometimes. If Tina's here. Catherine's breath caught. Okay. Yes. Whatever you need. The hour ended. Catherine left. The girls collapsed into Tina's arms. And Jeff realized something. Forgiveness wasn't a single moment. It was a long, painful road. And his daughters were braver than he'd ever given them credit for. Catherine visited twice a month for the next 6 weeks. Each visit was awkward, stilted, full of careful words and long silences. But slowly, something shifted. The girls started asking her questions, small ones at first. Where do you live now? Do you have a job? Are you still sad? Catherine answered honestly. She lived in an apartment downtown. She worked part-time at a bookstore. She was in therapy 3 times a week. And yes, sometimes she was still sad, but she was trying. On the 7th visit, Evelyn asked the question they'd all been avoiding. Do you want us back? Catherine's hands trembled. I want to be your mother again, but I don't know if I'm ready. It was the most honest thing she'd said. Luna looked at her sisters, then at their father, then at Tina. Can we talk? She asked. Just us? The 4 of them, Jeff, Tina, and the 3 girls went into Jeff's office and closed the door. Luna spoke first. I don't want to live with Mum. Evelyn nodded. Me neither, Alice whispered. This is home. Jeff's throat tightened. But, Luna continued, I don't want to hate her forever. We can see her sometimes, Evelyn added. Like now, with rules. Alice looked at Tina. Will you stay if Mom keeps coming? Tina's eyes filled with tears. Yes, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere. They went back to the living room where Catherine waited, anxious and afraid. Luna stood in front of her, shoulders back, voice steady. You can visit. But this is our home. Dad is our family. Tina is our family. You're our mum. But you don't get to decide things anymore. Catherine nodded, tears streaming. I understand. And you have to keep going to therapy, Evelyn added firmly. I will. And if you leave again, Luna said, voice breaking just slightly, don't come back. Catherine pressed her hand to her mouth, nodding. The custody agreement was drawn up the following week. Supervised visits twice a month, therapy required, no overnight stays, no major decisions without Jeff's approval. Catherine signed without argument. For the first time since March, the girls could breathe. They didn't have to choose between healing and loyalty, between moving forward and remembering their mother. They could do both. That night, after Catherine left and the girls were asleep, Jeff found Tina on the back porch again. He sat beside her, heart pounding. I need to ask you something, he said. She turned to him, moonlight catching her eyes. But I'm terrified. Tina smiled softly. Then ask scared. Jeff took a breath. Will you let me plan something? Something important. Something that involves you and the girls and us. Tina's breath caught. What kind of something? The kind that means forever. Her eyes filled with tears. Is that a yes? Jeff whispered. That's a... I'm listening. Jeff smiled. It was enough. Jeff and the triplets spent a week planning in secret. Late-night meetings in his office after Tina went to bed. Whispered conversations. Handmade decorations hidden in closets. Luna designed paper hearts, dozens of them, each one with a reason written inside. Because she stayed. Because she listened. Because she didn't run. Evelyn picked the flowers. Roses. 3 different colors, one from each of them. Alice wrote a letter. It took her 4 days and 6 drafts, but she finished it. Jeff handled the logistics. The rooftop of their Lakeshore Drive building. String lights borrowed from his office manager. Soft music cued on his phone. A photographer hidden in the corner because the girls insisted they wanted to remember this. On Friday night, Jeff told Tina he needed her help with something on the roof. Maintenance issue, he lied. Just need a second opinion. She gave him a suspicious look but followed him to the elevator. The girls were already up there, hiding behind the rooftop garden planters. When the elevator doors opened, Tina stepped out onto the roof and froze. String lights glowed softly against the Chicago skyline. Lake Michigan stretched out endless and dark beyond the buildings. Paper hearts hung from thin wires, spinning gently in the warm wind. And standing in the middle of it all were Luna, Evelyn, and Alice, each holding a rose. Tina's hand flew to her mouth. The girls walked toward her together. No pushing, no rushing, just steady, synchronized steps. Luna spoke first. You taught us that broken things can still be beautiful. Evelyn continued. You stayed when we were a hurricane. Alice finished, voice soft but clear. You're our family. They handed her the roses. Then Jeff stepped forward. He was shaking, hands trembling, heart hammering so hard he thought everyone could hear it. He knelt down on one knee. Tina's tears started falling. I built an empire, Jeff said, voice thick with emotion. I created something people said was impossible. But I couldn't build a home. I couldn't heal my daughters. I couldn't fix what was broken. He pulled a small box from his pocket. You did what I couldn't. You sat in the fire when everyone else ran. You chose us when you had every reason to walk away. He opened the box. Inside was a simple gold band, elegant, understated, perfect. You healed my daughters. You healed me. And I don't want to spend another day without you. Tina sobbed. Will you build a life with us? Jeff asked. One where no one leaves again? One where we choose each other every single day? The rooftop went silent except for the wind and the distant sound of traffic below. Tina looked at the girls. They were crying too, holding each other's hands. Say yes, Luna whispered. Please say yes, Evelyn added. Alice just nodded, tears streaming down her face. Tina looked back at Jeff, kneeling before her, holding out a ring and a promise. I almost didn't come that first day, she said, voice shaking. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, arguing with God. I didn't think I was strong enough. Jeff's breath caught, but I heard a voice clear as anything say, they need you, and you need them. She knelt down in front of him, took his face in her hands. I came here to heal 3 broken girls. I didn't know God sent me to heal a broken man and a broken version of myself. She kissed him softly. Yes, 1,000 times yes. The girls screamed and rushed forward, tackling both of them in a tangle of arms and tears and laughter. Jeff slipped the ring onto Tina's finger. And for the first time in 9 months, the Jim family was whole. not because the pain disappeared, but because they chose to heal it together. The photographer captured it all: the tears, the laughter, the moment 4 broken people became a family. Chicago sparkled below them, and above them, the stars came out. 1 year later, Grant Park in September, trees just starting to turn gold, families everywhere, spreading blankets and chasing kids through the grass. The Jim family posed for photos near Buckingham Fountain. Jeff stood beside Tina, arm around her waist. The triplets, now 7 years old, stood in front of them, wearing matching dresses they'd picked out themselves. And in Tina's arms was a baby boy, Mark Jim, named after Jeff's grandfather, the man who taught him that family isn't blood, it's choice. Luna held Mark's tiny hand, protective and proud. Evelyn made faces at him, trying to get him to smile. Alice hummed softly, the same tune Tina used to hum when Alice hid in closets. The photographer called out directions, but nobody was really listening. They were just together. Catherine visited last month. She brought a gift for Mark, a stuffed bear. She held him for a few minutes, tears in her eyes, and told the girls they were amazing big sisters. She stayed for lunch. It was still awkward, still careful, but it was progress. Later that afternoon, after the photos were done and the girls ran off to play, Jeff and Tina sat on a bench watching them. "You know what's crazy?" Jeff said. "What?" "A year ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd lost everything that mattered." Tina leaned her head on his shoulder. "And now? Now I have everything I didn't know I needed." Mark squirmed in Tina's arms. She kissed his forehead, then looked at Jeff. "I spent 27 years feeling unwanted," she said quietly. "Like my mother leaving meant I was a mistake. But I wasn't sent here to fix your family, Jeff. I was sent here to find mine." He kissed her temple. Out on the grass, the triplets were teaching a younger kid how to do cartwheels. Luna demonstrated. Evelyn cheered. Alice clapped encouragement. 3 girls who used to destroy everything in their path, now building others up. "We did it," Jeff whispered. Tina smiled. "No, God did it. We just showed up." The sun started setting over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and the Jim family, built from ashes, choices, and radical love, walked home together, whole. Sometimes the people we're meant to find aren't the ones we're looking for. Sometimes healing doesn't come from having all the answers, it comes from someone willing to sit in the questions with you. If this story reminded you that family is built, not given, then you already understand what matters most. The people who show up, the ones who stay, that's where miracles live.